Have you ever felt like you're working hard, ticking off tasks all day, yet somehow you never get around to the important stuff? Like you're always busy, but you're never moving forward. Trust me, I've been there. I've used to start my days by knocking off all the easy stuff, the quick wins, just to feel productive, right? Emails, admin, little tasks around the business. And you know what? At the time, it felt good, right? Until one day that it just didn't. Because despite feeling productive, I wasn't actually achieving anything significant. I was just staying busy. I remember clearly one morning sitting at my desk feeling completely overwhelmed. Despite having already worked for hours, I'd done countless minor tasks, but that big crucial project, the one that could really move the needle, hadn't even been touched yet. It was, a frustrating, soul-draining feeling. And then I discovered the concept of eating the frog, doing the hardest, most impactful tasks first thing in the morning. And at first I hated the idea. It seemed like counterintuitive. Why not build momentum by getting the small things done first? It made sense doing the easy things first. But the day I finally tried, it changed everything. I tackled a tough gym session first thing, and then immediately after I dove straight into a challenging business task that I'd been avoiding. When I finished, the sense of achievement was incredible. Not only had I knocked out something meaningful, but the rest of the day felt really easy. It was easier to do easy tasks at the end of the day when you're tired than when you're not. But when I realized true productivity isn't about being busy, it's about doing the right things at the right time. And that's what the smart mind framework is all about. So I didn't always have a smart mindset. In fact, twice in my life, I hit rock bottom, each time teaching me a profound lesson about mental clarity and, resilience. The first time was back in 2006. I vividly remember that day. I was sitting at home asleep when I woke up and I couldn't breathe. Panic surged through me. My chest tightened and I genuinely thought I was about to die right then. That moment of pure fear shook me to my core, and I woke up to the importance of not just physical health, but mental clarity too. And it forced me to reconsider how I was living my life and what truly mattered, which is why I got a personal training and sports injury qualification. But the biggest mental breaking point came almost a decade later in 2015. From the outside, my life looked perfect. I own a 500 grand home. I had all the material comforts that anyone could want, and people looking in, I was living a dream. But the truth was, I was miserable. My life felt empty. I didn't have purpose. I was trapped in a relationship and a lifestyle that drained me rather than energized me. I reached a point where I knew something had to drastically change. So I made the hardest decision of my life. I left everything behind: my house, my comfortable lifestyle, my marriage. I walked away with nothing but a suitcase filled with clothes and £30,000 worth of debt. It was terrifying, yet oddly liberating. I moved to Wales with Kay, the love of my life, determined to rebuild everything from scratch, starting from less than nothing. It was humbling, yet it gave me the clarity I desperately needed. It was a reset and a chance to build a life I genuinely wanted to build, aligned with my values. Rebuilding it was tough. It was really bloody tough. Every day was a battle against doubt, fear, uncertainty. But within that struggle came immense clarity. I had a vision for what I wanted, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. I was no longer drifting. I deliberately was moving forward. And this clarity didn't come overnight, though it took intense effort, reflection, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths about myself. It required embracing failure, learning constantly, and having the humility to seek help and education from those who knew more than I did. Within 3 years, the change was immense. I went from being £30,000 in debt to owning a home where each of my kids had their own room, a goal that I once thought was unattainable. My relationships flourished, my finances improved dramatically, and more importantly, my mindset had transformed completely. The experience taught me that hitting rock bottom isn't the end. Often it's exactly the reset that we need to build something truly extraordinary. It showed me, the power of clarity, intention, and having a smart mind. It focused me on growth and on learning. And that's why I created the Smart Mind framework, to inspire people like you who feel overwhelmed, juggling family, work, and dreams, and also people who've tasted success, yet maybe you feel stuck and disconnected from your true fulfillment and purpose. I've lived the stress, the uncertainty, and the fear, but I've also experienced the incredible freedom and empowerment that comes from deliberately building a smarter mind, living life on your terms. So this is the birth of the Smart Mind framework. And again, everything changed for me in 2017, the year that my granddad passed away. I remember standing there and feeling deeply moved, not just because I'd lost someone special, but because it hit me so clearly how temporary and precious life really is. My granddad lived a life filled with lessons about resilience, integrity, caring deeply for family. It made me reflect deeply on my own life. And I started asking myself some hard questions. What am I doing with my time? Am I making a difference? If I died tomorrow, would I be proud of what I left behind? I realized that in that moment, despite the progress I'd made since my rock bottom moments, I still didn't have the clarity that I needed. I didn't have a structured way of consistently moving forward and growing. Then, around the same time, something else caught my eye. It was like the universe was nudging me to wake up. I started noticing property prices in Swansea compared to the prices in the southeast of England, where I'd lived before. It absolutely blew my mind. Houses were so much cheaper here. I immediately thought, I can do this. I can build something substantial right here. At first, though, I made a huge mistake. I assumed the biggest barrier to success was money, but it wasn't. The real barrier, as I quickly discovered, was my knowledge. I decided that right then I needed to educate myself. I attended my first property seminar, dragging Kay along with me, and I'll never forget walking into the room, the energy, the ideas, the possibilities. It opened my eyes to what I could achieve. Suddenly, all the limitations I placed on myself about what I needed to succeed evaporated. At that event, I learned it wasn't money holding me back. It was the lack of knowing how things work. I realized that education and knowledge were the keys to unlocking everything that I dreamed of achieving. I went home from that event, multiple streams of property income it was, buzzing with energy and a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. I became utterly obsessed with learning intentionally. Every single day I committed to feeding my mind, and I started reading more books, listening to podcasts, watching videos, and taking copious amounts of notes and writing things down. I had a stack of journals filling up with insights, ideas, quotes, and strategies. I began to live by one simple, powerful phrase. If you write, you invite. Writing down what I learned didn't just help me remember, it forced me to take action and have something to vision about every single day. So during this process, I revisited Tony Robbins, whose teachings had previously pulled me out of my darkest moments. Tony's words hit me differently this time because now I had practical goals tied to them. Tony had taught me to think clearly and expand my vision. But now, paired with the education I got with property, I wasn't just motivated, I was empowered to live better, live more. It was through the intense period of learning that the Smart Mind framework began to crystallize. I recognized that there was a pattern of how quickly I was growing and how much more effectively I was now achieving my goals. It wasn't accidental, it was deliberate. It was structured and, more importantly, it was intentional. I took everything I'd learned into 3 core principles. These principles weren't random. They were precisely the things that had transformed my life and given me the mindset that I needed to rebuild from absolutely nothing to thriving again. Principle number 1. This is about daily information intake. Every single day, consciously consume knowledge that fuels your growth. Whether it's reading physical books, listening to inspiring podcasts, or watching impactful videos, deliberately feeding your mind isn't optional, it is essential. Consuming just isn't enough. Take notes. Even if you never read them again, Writing solidifies understanding. It anchors ideas into your subconscious and primes your mind to implement the things that you've learned. And that's principle number one. So principle number two, and this is probably the most important one, is embracing mistakes and failures. This was probably the hardest lesson, but also the most impactful. I used to fear failure because I related it with embarrassment, disappointment, or even inadequacy. But what I discovered is that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Mistakes are profoundly powerful teachers. When you fail, you feel pain. And because pain is so uncomfortable, your brain pays close attention to it. Those lessons stick with you. The key is to view every setback as a chance to refine, pivot, and improve. I became fearless in embracing mistakes, knowing that every failure brought me closer to success. Next is principle number three, and that's paid learning and coaching. This one often shocks people, but I believe deeply in paid learning, courses, masterminds, mentors, coaches, all that sort of stuff, because it makes you commit. Free information is everywhere, but free rarely compels you to action. When you invest money, especially money that feels significant, your mind demands you to take action. You're forced to implement, experiment, and learn because you feel the weight of your investment. Personally, I've always invested in coaches and mentors who know things that I don't, who've done things that I aspire to, or who just can help me see beyond the blind spots in my thinking. Every significant leap in my progress has come after making an investment in myself. These three principles have formed the foundation of the Smart Mind framework, a framework that transformed how I approached life, business, and growth. It shifted my mindset from reactive to proactive, gave me clarity and a structured way to turn ideas into tangible outcomes. It didn't just change my bank account, it changed my relationships, my family life, and how I felt every single day, waking up with clear, purposeful intentions. Looking back, I often wonder what would have happened if I hadn't faced that wake-up call when my granddad died, if I hadn't stepped into that property seminar, if I hadn't obsessively pursued knowledge. And that's exactly why I'm sharing this framework, because I know many of you listening right now feel stuck, whether you're overwhelmed by life's demands or you're successful yet feeling unfulfilled. This structured, intentional approach can shift everything. So let me ask you clearly, are you deliberately growing your mind, or are you leaving your potential up to chance? The Smart Mind framework is not complicated, but it's transformative. It's built on clarity, intention, and purposeful action. It's about turning your learning into living. Now, let's break down exactly how you can apply these principles starting today. But before I do, I want to share one more thing with you, something deeply personal, because I genuinely believe it might resonate with you where you are right now. A few years into building our property business, after having embraced these principles deeply, something surprising happened. I hit another barrier. Not a financial one, not even a logistical one, but a mental barrier. Even though I'd become successful by almost any standard that you can imagine, I'd started feeling complacent. The same hunger and clarity that had gotten me out of debt and given me my dream home began to fade. Life was comfortable again, but maybe too comfortable. I found myself slipping back into old patterns, focusing on smaller, easier tasks, losing my sense of urgency, drifting slightly. And you know what's dangerous about drifting? It feels so subtle, you barely even notice it until one day you realize you've lost sight of your goals. That's when I realized another truth. Growth isn't something you achieve once. It's a lifelong commitment. If you're not deliberately moving forward, you're sliding backwards. It's that simple. I had to recommit fully to the Smart Mind framework again and again every single day. So I decided to raise the stakes. I hired a new mentor, Daniel Hill of Property Entrepreneur. Started with his podcasts. Someone who charged me more than I'd ever paid before. Someone who pushed me harder than I'd ever been pushed. It was uncomfortable. I remember feeling anxious when I made the payment because of the amount of money. It felt substantial. But that discomfort, that feeling of being stretched was exactly what I needed. It forced me into action. It demanded my full commitment. And once again, my growth exploded. The transformation that followed wasn't just financial. It deepened my relationships, improved my health, and revitalized my passion for life. I saw clearly once more how everything was interconnected, how the mind directly impacts your results in every area of your life, your health, your finances, your relationships, your happiness. That's the real secret here. Mastering your mindset isn't about business success. It's about creating a life that you're genuinely proud of, a life that excites you every day when you wake up, a life on your terms. And maybe you're listening to this right now and thinking, that's great for me, but my situation is different. Or I've tried things like this before and they haven't worked. Believe me, I understand those thoughts. I've had them too. But here's what you need to understand. Your situation right now, no matter how difficult, confusing, or overwhelming it is, it's temporary. Everything can shift in the moment you decide that it can. You have more power than you realize, and it starts with choosing to intentionally grow your mind every single day. I didn't build this framework because it sounded good or clever. I built it because it saved me. It brought me back from the edge more than once. It gave me clarity when things felt impossible, strength when I felt weak, and purpose when I felt lost. It gave me a reliable path forward no matter what life threw at me. And now it's your turn. Here's my challenge to you, one that genuinely can start changing your life over the next 7 days. Starting today, commit to reading a physical book for just 10 minutes a day. Why physical? Because holding a book in your hands removes distractions. It anchors you to the moment. It demands your full attention. Don't just read, write down at least one insight every day, just one thing that sparks your interest or makes you pause. It could be something that you want to remember, something that inspires you, or something that challenges your current way of thinking. And why write? Because when you write, you invite. Writing activates your mind, it solidifies your intentions, and it primes your subconscious to start taking action even without you realizing it. I promise, if you genuinely commit to this for just 1 week, you'll notice something interesting happen. You'll begin to feel clearer, more energized, and more focused. You'll become more intentional about your decisions. You'll see problems differently, not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to learn, to adjust, and to grow. And more importantly, you'll prove to yourself that intentional growth is not complicated. It's just a daily choice, consistently made every single day. Imagine what could happen if you kept this habit for a month, 6 months, or even a year. Imagine the clarity that you have, the ideas that you generate, and the obstacles that you could overcome. Imagine the life that you could create if you deliberately fueled your mind every single day. Because at the end of the day, your mindset determines everything. The money you earn, the relationships you nurture, and the legacy that you leave. It's all shaped first and foremost by your mind. So, my friend, what will you choose? Comfort or growth? Drift or intention? I've shared my story, my mistakes, my breakthroughs, and this is a simple yet powerful framework that you can take away today, but the decision is yours. You can let this moment pass, let it be another thing that you watch or listen to and then don't act upon, or you can decide right now to start something truly transformative. You deserve clarity, you deserve success, and you deserve happiness, and you deserve a life on your terms. So here's the truth. I'm leaving you today with, if you're not intentionally growing, you're unintentionally shrinking. Your smarter mind, your brighter future, your extraordinary life on your terms is right here waiting for you. Over to you. You choose. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You are a carnivore entrepreneur. Live life how it was supposed to be lived on your terms with strength, energy, and purpose. I'll see you on the next episode.